Hey there, good morning, folks. Happy Monday to you. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. A little trying for me with my Cleveland Browns losing in overtime. What a anyway. Listen, I did a live session yesterday. Didn't record, so I'm just gonna do a real quick video of my stocks to watch for this week and my market take. So look, we've got a big earnings week this week, so it should be fairly interesting. Got some weak data out of China. Got the Brazil finance minister, I think, is leaving his post. So we got some interesting things going on. Markets are looking down currently. Um, we'll see how the day plays out, though. Earnings are going to take center stage. So this is what I've got. So this is what I had this weekend. I have not done my morning scans. Getting ready to do that shortly here. But MVCN had a nice little pop. I'm not really familiar with the stock. I'm not sure why it popped, but you could have. I mean, it's had two moves. You could get a red to green continuation, a crack over the $6 holla. I think it's worth paying attention to. WB, I had a little gap and go on Friday after a nice consolidation here, and coming right up into the $16 holla. I love those round number rolls. Decent volume. This thing has made some nice runs in the past 2-3 days in a row. So I think this one is also worth paying attention to for a $16 roll. XCO. XCO is one of the oil and gas names, and if oil continues to make a little move, I kind of like the spot and where this one is at. I think it could potentially go up and test around $1.50 or so. Probably more of a day trade for me, but worth keeping an eye on that XCO. FELP coming up to an $8 roll after this nice little consolidation. I mean, it has had a nice little run, so I don't know how much more it's got in it, but it could come up and test somewhere in around 890 or so. I think it's worth paying attention to FELP. Uh, Here, real thin stock. You got to be careful with this one, but it's kind of coming up to a big spot here. It looks like it wants to break through that $3.36, 340. There's a gap to fill on the daily. It's breaking over this long-term trend line. It's compelling. I think it's a low floater. It's a lot like that APDM that I played and that I mentioned a couple of weeks ago. It has that kind of potential. So I think it's worth paying attention to HEAR. MNGA, another super thin one. Full disclosure, I do own this stock. I've traded this stock several times. I like their tech for the long term. I wouldn't go chasing this thing right here, right now. It might be getting a little bit extended. Look for it to pull back or consolidate in this area and then take out, this 125 area with some conviction. Been having a lot of news lately. Probably has earnings coming up. Look, with all these things, make sure you check to make sure their earnings aren't right on deck before you go piling in. Uh, ABTL, I love this thing. Thin float, really small float on this one. Taking out 52-week highs. Looks like it wants to go test the $23 holla. Probably take that out. So it's got a nice little sweet setup here. See if we get some follow through and some continuation on this bad boy this week. Kirk's, I think they got some financing or something. You got some accumulation going on here. Looks like it wants to take out 460. Probably go test the $5 holla. Maybe even get above that, somewhere around $5.36 in that range. It's breaking this down, this trend line. I don't know. I mean, I'm not super crazy about this one, but I do think it's worth paying attention to. Box, full disclosure, I own it. I bought it when there was some insider buying going on. My target on this actually to scale out is $13.98. I'll probably hold some lottos, and hopefully we get that this week. This one again. I don't think this run is done. I think maybe if you get a pullback, red to green or something like that, you could get involved in box. But there's been some buying in 1190 and 1234, right in that range by insiders. Twitter, of course, I still have half of my position. I'm looking for this to get up into the 33.96 range.
Shares of Genesea.
Hold on a second.
Biosciences to resume at 7:30. GNCA
That's the morning guy. That's Benzinga. Hold on a second. Turn him off for a minute. Okay, so Twitter, 33.96. I probably will scale out a bit more. I think maybe it can go up and test 35 bucks, but I'm not going to get too greedy. I've been in this thing for a while. I'm going to take some profit. OCLR, full disclosure, I own it. Insiders buying $2.75. I like the way this thing is coiling up. You got the 50 that's over the 100-day. You got a nice upward, uh, you know, trend line. It appears to be in an upward trend. So, we'll see if it can break out of this over this trend line. I think it maybe goes up and tests the $3 holla. I got in this thing. I think my dollar cost average is actually somewhere around $2.44, something like that, or 2.39 something. Anyway, I think it's worth paying attention to. MOBL. This may have found a bottom. Look, it may go back down and retest that bottom, but around $3. But it seems to be consolidating here, messing around with the $4 holla. If it could take out 4 with conviction, maybe it gets moving. Probably waiting on earnings. This is a recent IPO. It's an ugly chart, don't get me wrong, but it could set up for a decent day trade. GoPro from a swing perspective is getting, very appealing to me. I almost took it last week, didn't, and I continue to watch it. It's reminding me of Twitter. It's close to its IPO price, and I'm thinking, the holidays may be better than some people anticipate. Some of the analysts, anyway. You got the CEO who bought some shares. So to me, it's starting to get compelling down here in this range. The question is, I think they have earnings on Wednesday, so don't anticipate. Maybe wait until earnings and look to take it then. TTMI, $7 holla. It's consolidating after this little run. This is, again, a pretty ugly chart. It's in a downward trend. It does look as though this 50-day is starting to flatten out. I kind of like the way it's flirting with 7. If you look back here, it may need more time, right? But if you look back here, when it did take out 7, it went on a nice little run. So maybe it does the same thing here. Worth paying attention for a $7 roll. Dang, China names. Look at what Baba's done. Dang actually looks like it's flirting with the $7 holla. Could be looking to make some type of a move. Bida is another one that my buddy Russell brought to my attention. Pretty smoking hot, flirting with the $34 holla. I definitely think it's worth keeping an eye on both Bida and Dang. GST, another oil and gas name. This thing was flirting with $1.70. I was thinking that was actually where it was going to send it. It did have a nice little pop, but it didn't hold. I'd like to see if maybe it can, break above $2 holler. That's if you were to take it here, you can put a stop somewhere like around. Well, actually, it's got this little gap to fill. I still like GST. I like that it's trying to break out over here, right? Let's see if this area holds. If it doesn't, it may come back, fill this gap, and then bounce off of there. Again, oil and gas name, so you've got to be a little bit careful. This is an interesting stock. Lots of insider buying in the anywhere from the $1.19 to the 122 range. I'm talking some significant shares. Now, they also report earnings on Wednesday. You may not want to go chasing this thing before they report earnings. But when insiders are buying, 200, 300, 400,000 shares, I'm thinking they may know a little something, and that the company may be cheaper than the streets got it priced at, or more valuable than the streets got it priced at. So, if they report earnings and it winds up pulling back into the dollar area, test this low, I'll probably start dipping my toe for a longer term hold. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And if they beat earnings, this thing might be a ripper. So I think it's kind of worth watching. SPRT, ENPH has been destroyed along with the Solars. Looks like it's consolidating here right below the $5 holla. I do love $5 rolls. And if solar picks up, I did see there was a downgrade this morning of Solar City, downgraded it to sell, so that may impact the sector. But this ENPH for a break over 5 could be fun. And then the last one is Trox, Trox. This probably is going to do well with the oils, right? Whatever oil's doing, it's probably going to react in kind. So, flirting around with the $7 range, looking for a trend line break. Potentially, this thing could go up and test somewhere around $10. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I think it's worth having on the radar. And that is it, folks. That's all I've got for this week's stocks to watch. And my overall take on the market, like I said, is you've got earnings. We are coming up into some resistance on some of the major indexes. I think the IWM is a bit overextended. SMH is still a sector that I am watching very closely because I think the semis are hot and could, kind of be the first sector to pull us out of this little correction that we're in. Gold, I think you need to pay attention to gold and the miners, and you also need to keep paying attention to oil. That's it, folks. Yeah, good luck trading this week, and I will see y'all next week.